Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tidal Flooding Talk, brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition in conjunction with our broadcast partners at Triax 57. We are recapping the 10-year anniversary of the blizzard of 2016. Some may know it as Winter Storm Jonas. We'll get into that. Dan, we've had our January thaw, at least here in the Mid-Atlantic. So far, it does look like the tea leaves are changing as we get into late January into the first half of February. Where are you on your I need more snow, I don't need more snow meter?
I'm definitely the need more snow.
Okay.
I'm a huge snow lover. Talk about it all the time. I enjoyed the January thaw. We haven't had a lot of snow this winter, but it does seem, yeah, at least here in Pennsylvania, what snow we've had has been on the ground forever. The sleet, the ice, the thaw finally melted it off. But I'm still in search of the big one. Maybe not the Jonas with its tidal flooding storm surge implication big one, but a nice big double-digit snowfall for everybody. It's been a little while since, we've had a widespread nor'easter. I think it's been 5 years, from Maryland to New England, like a good old fashioned nor'easter. So definitely need the big one or a few moderate ones to kind of fill that snow need before spring arrives.
Yeah, all right. So I'm with you. I could use more snow, and I also agree. I'd like this January thaw. December was cold in Jersey. It was the fifth
Was
coldest since 1895. Beginning of January was cold too, and I like my cold during the winter. But a couple of days of 50s are nice, even though I've despised 50s on this show before. But I'll take a couple of days. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna talk about Winter Storm Jonas, January 2016 blizzard. This was a big one. This was a Category 5 storm on the NESIS scale, which is the Northeast Snowfall Impacts scale. Kind of think of it like hurricanes. Category 5 is an extreme, and that's what, in many ways it was. A very powerful, what we call extratropical cyclone. It was a blizzard here. It was a paralyzing storm, and we're talking with Jim Murdoch from News 12, who is here with us, and he's going to talk about what it was like for him. And we're kind of all going to talk about this because we all lived it. But Jim, I should say, all of us here have worked together in some small capacity with each other in one way or another. So you're well connected here, Jim. You're amongst friends.
Yeah, Dan and I go back all the way to 2014 when the NBC 40, the great NBC 40 down in Atlantic County, folded up, unfortunately. But I got to join them for the last 5 or 6 months of the existence, and I really got to meet the South Jersey community. And once they went away, we split up, went our separate ways. I've been at News 12 ever since. Just celebrated my 11th year on the air with News 12 last month. And we've covered a lot of storms down at the Jersey Shore, hurricanes, nor'easters, blizzards, and the 2016 one, probably my second favorite storm covering winter-wise for News 12, other than I believe it was 2018 immediate coast blizzard, which was 6 hours of blizzard conditions here in Point Pleasant Beach.
Yeah, I remember that 2018 one too. That's actually but I forgot about it and I remembered it. So thank you for bringing that up. Winter storm. So with the storm, right? It was really from about the 20th to the 22nd to the 23rd, 24th here. It brought everything. We had the wind, we had the tidal flooding, we had the snow, and we had big cold afterwards with this too. There was concern, of some of the salt water getting onto the road and then freezing up. And Dan's nodding his head here. Jim, just tell us, you're there. Like, what is, let's get behind the scenes, right? So from a TV perspective, right? We got a big storm coming. Dan and I know what it's like on the meteorologist end, but what's it like on the reporting end, especially when you're covering the coast, which was going to be, have the biggest impacts? Excuse me.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it on a weekend?
It was a Friday night to a Sunday morning. You're right.
Okay.
Most of the big storms, for whatever reason, occur on weekends. It's the weekend.
I had plans to be at a car racing convention in Phoenixville at the Oaks Convention Center. And then I got called into work. So that changed, first of all. At this point, I was a freelancer with News 12. So when the big events happen, they call on the freelancers to help out. My assignment was to be on the air at 6 a.m. at the Manasquan Inlet when the storm started to really get cranking. And then we expected the high tide, I believe, once daybreak, a couple hours after the sun came up. And we saw everything from thunder and lightning in the snow on live TV to probably a 3 to 4 foot storm surge with icebergs floating down Brielle Road. It was a little bit of everything. But you're on the air probably 2 or 3 times an hour, and you have to keep the equipment safe, yourselves safe, your vehicle safe. You've got 50, 60 mile per hour winds. You've got sleet, snow, lightning, and the waves coming over the side too that you have to worry about. And you have to keep 2 or 3 people with you safe at all times. And you're doing that out in the elements without a break. So that's what it was like. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything because that's what we do out there. But
Jim, are
yeah,
you like the type of person that, like, hey, put me in the worst? Are you like the Jim Cantori, if you will? I
exactly.
want to be at the heart of the action.
Yeah, and it's neat too because I grew up here and now I'm working at a station where I know every flooding spot. If you just moved into town 5 years ago, we're going to tell you those street level neighborhoods where you needed to move your car before the next high tide cycle, or else you're going to be calling Geico. And it's neat to be right there, knowing everything where you grew up and having a little bit of weather knowledge too, because at the Pocono station, I was a fill-in weather anchor at Blue Ridge 13 up the road from you. And I did some screen stuff. I did get some training from the National Weather Service and storm spotting. So, and all my best friends are meteorologists. Mike Rizzo,
Yeah, there you go. That's the
Justin
important part.
Godnick, you, everybody. So you're always around it. They're always talking about it, and you absorb it. But you're able to convey that knowledge to the viewers, and that's what's most important. Knowing about what you're talking about and what you're seeing.
Can you give people an idea of what the Manasquan Inlet looks like? What set up the scene for us?
All right, so you've got parking lot on both sides. The inlet's kind of narrow. A couple of football fields, that's about it. In the worst storms, you can get 6, 7 foot waves all the way in to where the Manasquan River meets the inlet, and then you can even surf on the dog beach at Fisherman's Cove on the biggest of days. But at the inlet, you're also a couple blocks away from the tidal flooding areas along Watson Creek, Brielle Road. So if you know what the water level is coming up there, then you have a good idea of what it's going to be on the Barnegat Bay, up in Belmar along the Shark River, in Seabright, and then in LBI. So you can watch it as it's happening. You can follow the tidal gauges too to see if that high tide is coming above or below predictions, because every 6 inches is a difference. So visually at the inlet, you get tidal flooding, you get these giant swells that'll crash over the parking spots. And then if you're brave, you can go up on the boardwalk and get hit by the northeast winds on the Manasquan side and get a little shelter where the restrooms are too. It's the best spot to watch a storm come in to a point where you're not going to be in probably 2 feet above major flood stage. Then you're going to be off that little island there.
You really got this scoped out, Jim.
Yeah, it's amazing down there.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's take our first break. We're going to come back on the other side. We've got a lot more to talk about with this storm here on Tidal Flooding Talk. Thanks to the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, your flood insurance bills are lower and your streets safer from the reality of flooding. Since beginning in 2013, we build more resilient shoreline communities. Our member towns develop and share in best practices that anticipate future concerns and create flooding solutions. From our town-specific free web app for flooding information to our weekly Tidal Flooding Talk show, we focus on flooding 24/7. Visit www.njcoastalcoalition.com for more.
Welcome back to this week's Tidal Flooding Talk, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the whatever you want to call it. Some will call it Jonas. I think this group of weather enthusiasts will not. The blizzard of 2016, late January winter storm of 2016 with Joe Martucci and News 12's Jim Murdoch. Welcome back, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you,
having
Jim.
me.
Let's get into the naming. I mean,
Yeah,
should we name winter storms? Let's be blunt and go right at it.
Jim, you're the guest. You first.
I think because what defines a winter storm? There's so many different types of storms that you it's too spread out. Like when you get a tropical storm or a hurricane, it's one cause, you know what causes it, and you know that it's going to hit a centralized area. And I just think that the winter storm is such a broad category. It's tough to, what are you going to name? What are you not going to name? How do you decide? Are you going to name a clipper? Are you going to name just a little overrunning event? Because it could be really bad. Like we had, 8 inches here a couple of weeks ago, but a couple miles away, nothing. So how do you decide what gets a name?
Yeah. So go ahead, Dan. You want to go?
No, go ahead.
So I am pro winter storm naming, but it shouldn't come from a private company. It's got if it's going to happen, I think it should come from the national. It's got to come from the National Weather Service because we need to have a standardized public criteria of what it is. So, but we need to find out what that criteria is. I tend to think, Jim, that we are good enough at analyzing what's happening now that we could have an idea of when the threshold is to name. Like we had Joe Bastardi on a few months ago, and he has this power and impact scale that looks at a variety of different factors to come up with a solution. So I don't think private companies should be naming winter storms. I do think NOAA could get into that business, but we have to figure out the formula first. I'm not saying, because to your point, Jim, like how vast of an area does it have to be? Does it have to meet a certain snow threshold, ice? What if there's refreeze afterwards? So I just think there's a lot of different factors.
I kind of like
using the years geographically.
Oh, what, Jim?
I like using the years to describe blizzards. We already know what we're talking about when we say 96, when we say Boxing Day, like
Sure.
Holidays or specific days or the years. Like that's how we know winter, and names are how we know summer.
Yeah, that's not a bad. Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you. I'm not like strong pro NOAA naming, but I think it could be done. That's all.
I also think the impact's different. Like you're not going to name a 3-inch snowstorm in upstate New York, but if you get 3 inches in Georgia, that's like a crippling storm. So different parts of the country, I think, almost have to have different criteria.
Totally.
It's just very complicated. I think it can be done, but it will just take a lot of sorting out of what's the criteria and how does it vary with each geographical part of the country.
Yeah, like we have the regional snow index now that NOAA does, and that categorizes storms based on all that, like climatology. Like a 3-inch snow in Atlanta is different than 3 inches in Minneapolis, but that's after the fact they're doing that, right? So if there's a way to kind of do that in real time, I would be into it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where time takes us. Anyway, just getting back, or go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question.
All right.
How many hurricane names can you name that were impactful here, say in the last 5 years? Just a number off the top. You could probably name a dozen hurricanes in 5 years that you'll remember, right?
Yeah. Oh, you mean across the country?
Across the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many Weather Channel winter storm names do you remember?
Probably only one's Jonas.
And
I remember Nemo and
Nemo,
and that's about it.
Wait, which one was Nemo?
That was the Southern New England one. I was up in New England for that. That was 20 or 30 inches. And, they also, it's great marketing. They pick names like Nemo that you're going to remember. I mean, they pick those weird names that,
mythological
more of a bell.
Greek god,
Right.
Yeah.
We need a
But
Winter
you
Storm
can only
Jim.
remember two. They've been doing this for 12 years now, right?
Yeah.
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 It's not catching on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the Weather Channel has said before, I think, don't quote me, that it was supposed to be a conversation starter to get like NOAA to do something, but no, obviously hasn't done anything with it, which I understand. I mean, I totally get why it's hard to name winter storms, and it's going to have to come from the private sector now, as much as I don't think we should be naming winter storms. But anyway, just kind of look at these snowfall totals. I forgot what this map looked like. Like Sussex County, Northwest New Jersey. I mean, High Point had like somewhere around 4 inches of snow. That is it. And then a huge swath of 20 plus. And that was like where you were, Jim. We had, I'm looking here, 25.5 in Seabright. That's in Monmouth County. We had 18 inches in Stafford and Ocean County. Once you got further south, there was less, but it was 10 inches in I think this is Northfield in Atlantic County, and Cape May saw 7.4. That's, it's not bad for them. But I mean, there was an area that ripped, 20 plus inches. And it wasn't just that, right? I mean, we just talked about it. It was that plus the tidal flooding, which was concerning because it's cold and it's wet. And that causes issues for a wide variety of reasons. Jim, can you tell us, like, while you were reporting, are there any particular, I don't know, like whether it's a water rescue or something going on in the emergency services level that you remember?
From that storm,
Yeah.
I remember the Manasquan had the high water trucks out, but
Okay.
I don't think anybody needed to be rescued. I think there were a lot of vehicles that were, lost in it, but it was very advertised. It was well advertised, and people took it seriously, despite, if you remember, like the year earlier, it was one of the biggest forecast busts of our lifetimes when, it was like the March 2001 all over again, and the band stayed offshore and we never got it. We had maybe 4 inches instead of the 25 we were going to get. So
Yeah.
this prediction for Jonas, whatever you want to call it, people heeded it, and because the flooding was so put out there, I know Dave Curran was talking about it, Justin was talking about it
Yeah.
days in advance, and you guys are the forecasters. Something about that one was not unpredictable from what I can remember.
I think especially up where you were, Jim, because I remember sitting at the press of Atlantic City that Saturday morning and that Sunday morning and just remembering the winds overperforming down in Atlantic and Cape May County. We were expecting 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds. They were 60, 70 plus. And I do know the tidal flooding overperformed. There was not forecast to the severity that it had turned out being, worse than Sandy from Ocean City on south. So that was a surprise. We were talking off camera. Was this storm your only thunder snow experience, and what was that like?
The only one that I got on video.
Okay.
Okay.
We had thunder sleet here not too many winters ago too. I remember that, but and then I remember one in the early '80s in Wall that seemed to go on for hours. Maybe '83 or '82. I was very young, 4 or 5 years old, but I can remember, and it was pink outside from the lightning and the snow. But so it was. I've seen it a couple times, but that was the first and only one live on TV that I've had.
Nice.
Okay.
And
Did you jump up and
they
down for
loved it
that?
too. It was good.
Did you pull like a Jim Cantori jumping up and down?
So the first flash happened in a break, but the second one was rolling on it, so they played that.
Okay.
And then the second one, I sent you a clip. It's on one of my demos, and I sent you the YouTube link so you can check it out.
Yeah.
I put that on the live TV one. So
Okay.
I know didn't jump up and down. That's Jim Cantori's thing. I was just kind of like in shock that it was happening.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm just as fast. It is my favorite weather phenomenon, like ever. Because you don't see it 5 times in my life, probably.
Yeah, it's not. When it's thunder snowing, it's ripping out. I mean, that is don't go anywhere. I just remember, like, I remember, I can't remember exactly when, but it was dark out. It was at night. It was snowing so hard. I was just inside looking out the front window when I was at my parents' house and it was thunderstorm. I'm like, this is like this is winter, man. You know, like,
Yeah, I think it's the most exciting type of winter weather. I remember after the forecast went to Charlie's Bar in Summers Point in
Ooh,
South Jersey. It was a
good
March
wings.
snowstorm, and I was watching the radar, and I see some lightning strikes pop up, and I said, "Hey, everyone, you got to come out! It's 2 a.m. We're gonna have thunder and lightning in the snow." No one believed me. Got the whole bar out. The thunder snow happened. I think I was God at that bar for the
they
following.
didn't believe you. They didn't believe Dan
No,
Skeldon, the South Jersey weather legend at Charlie.
Right.
thunder snow is kind of a novel concept that people like, or at least something that like people have to see to believe.
Apparently so. Hey, I just wanted to say this before we went to break. I looked up some of the historical crests. Cape May, still to this day, the highest crest was that storm. And it actually wasn't, I'm looking, it wasn't even particularly close. Sandy was 8.67 feet above mean lower low water. This was 9.36 feet. That's a foot and a half above major flood stage. That is crazy. Atlantic City was the 10th highest crest on record. So to your point, Dan, I think you said Ocean City South, right? Cape May County had super high tide. So that is for sure. All right, we're going to take our last break here. We'll come back on the other side with Jim Murdoch.
Atlantic City Restaurant Week. Reimagine. Join us this March for the month-long culinary celebration, showcasing the city's diverse and vibrant dining scene, offering a delicious opportunity for both locals and visitors to savor the best of Atlantic City's flavors. Taste Atlantic City's 48 blocks of endless flavor.
Hey everyone, Joe here, and I made a mistake. I forgot to continue recording for our third segment of Tidal Flooding Talk with Jim Murdoch. I'm really sorry. Sorry to Dan, sorry to Jim, especially for coming on. We did talk in that third segment about just his history of reporting at the Jersey Shore. We talked about more on Winter Storm Jonas, and we did our one thing we can't stop talking about, tidal flooding or otherwise, which was a pretty good one, better than most of them. So sorry for that, but we have to end it here. We'll be back with you in coming Tuesdays with more episodes, and I promise, I will make sure that we record all the way through. Take care, everybody, and thanks again for listening to Tidal Flooding.